The problem is there's too much we don't know. It's like opening a book and starting from the middle, or trying to imagine what a jigsaw puzzle looks like when all you have is a few random pieces, right? And not even the helpful ones like corners or edges, just vague. The trick is you find two pieces that connect. Then at least you have a place to start.
Hello everyone, welcome to Geek Anime channel. My name is Igor and we are continuing to analyze from season 1, today episode 5. This is definitely gonna be one of my shortest video. This episode was not very rich on clues, but still had some interesting moments that I want to share with you. But before we begin, I just want to say welcome to my 3 new Patreons, Larry Kwarowitz, Landa Thompson and Candace. Thank you so much for your support, it means a lot to me. I'm always thinking how I can make my sponsors feel special, what can I do for them, and the first thing that comes to mind, I'm gonna be able to give them an opportunity to watch my videos without ads. So this is what I'm gonna post in Patreon. They're gonna have a special link just for them, just for you guys, and thank you so much, it means a lot for me. This is like the loudest applause that a YouTuber can get, this kind of support, and as I told you before, I'm gonna do everything that I can not to disappoint. So let's begin. So one of the first things that we discover is that one of the ship is being called here Alma, and this name gets repeated twice in this episode, in the beginning and in the end. I just read a little bit about the name. It says something nurturing, someone who's helping others, and when you think about the names in these TV shows, whether it's Donna, the lady of the house, whether it's Boyd, whether it's Ethan, whether it's Fatima, which is also a name for Virgin Mary, and we know that Fatima is gonna get pregnant and it's gonna be a miracle pregnancy here in season 2. So a lot of those names, if not all of them, have the meaning. The writers put some thinking before they named every character, which gives me a lot of hope that eventually we're gonna get some interesting answers in the end of this TV show. Now when we move forward, we can see some drawings behind Kristi, we can see a witch, we can see some kind of a monsters and some thingy with 6 legs, whatever it is. Now there is a big popular theory about a witch and a demon and they're fighting with each other with tarot cards. I'm not a big fan of the theory, even though it is amazing. The job that was done there by the guy who invented this theory is phenomenal. I just myself prefer a different explanation. Like for example, here is just another sign when Fromville became like under the dome, if you may call it that way. It was Halloween. We saw those decorations in episode 1 I think, or episode 2, and now we're seeing some drawings that probably the teacher told the kids to draw when there's Halloween. Draw your favorite monster or draw something that scares you, something that makes you ooga booga booga. Now this was just a cute moment for me because Jim here with Tabitha doing exactly what we are doing here. We are writing everything on the wall. For me it's just a board and we're trying to understand everything that has a connection. So you put it on the board so you can identify everything you know. And this is one of the most challenging but also one of the best factors for me in this show. We know so much. There are so many connections, there are so many notes, there are so many hints. We have here Scandinavian mythology, we have here biblical religion, we have here today quantum physics, we have some maybe virtual reality theories, we have so much information, ravens, trees, faraway trees, closed loop, you cannot leave the city. You can just look at my board, we only on episode 5 and it already looks gigantic for me. There's so much information and I can promise you there's a lot I didn't put there just because I didn't want to overwhelm this board too much. How it's gonna look when I'm gonna reach episode 10 of season 2, I have no idea, but probably it's gonna be a little bit scary. Now another cute thing, it's not a clue, it's just something that I enjoy, is basically in season 1 we already have mentioning of Mariel, the character we're gonna see in season 2, so it tells me that the writers at least know where they're going. Okay, it's not like they are inventing everything as soon as season ends. A lot of time in Hollywood they're just basically making season 1 and hoping to get a continuation, and then they're like, okay, let's discover what's gonna happen next. So this moment when Kristi tells Sarah that Mariel is her fiance and she's missing her fills me with hope that eventually we're gonna get some good answers. Now another thing that's more interesting for me here is that Sarah tells that she had someone. She was with someone, but the way she talks about it feels that it was a really abusive relationship. Now she's saying that it's better that he's not around anymore. Like, this is not something you say about someone who you just didn't connect with. You know, like sometimes it happens. You have some relationships and it doesn't work. But the whole vibe here, and especially when she says Nathan was the one who saved me, kinda makes you feel and think it was not a good relationship. Probably it was abusive, maybe the husband was even hitting her. I don't know exactly how Nathan saved her, maybe he just rescued her, helped her to escape, maybe there was a murder there, like in the event with Katri. We're gonna discover this once again in episode 7. But it once again drives me to this theme of hope. We already talked about Boyd, you know, leaving his army job and starting his pension, getting a boat from his family, something he dreamed about. He's starting a new life. Matthew's family is starting a new life. They're getting a divorce. They want to work through losing their child. We have here Kenny told the story to Father Katri about how he found his father, and when they were coming back he actually felt like they're gonna start from clean slate. This is the moment they're gonna start from clean slate. We have Jade here who sold a startup company and he's starting a new life, and now we also have Sarah who escaped what was probably a very abusive relationship with her brother, hoping to start a new life. So this is already something we can call a rule, and every time somebody who is not gonna be in this rule, like for example Donna or Kristi, for me it raises some suspicions, because once again, as I told you in my first video of this series, I really enjoyed Sherlock Holmes books when I was young. So one of the things he used to say that if you exclude everything that is completely impossible, the only possible thing that stays, no matter how unlikely it is, has to be true. So I know most of you, me too, don't want to think anything bad about Kristi or Donna. We want them to be good, we love those characters. But when they are not falling to this rule of escaping and starting a new life, even though Kristi can be explained a little bit because she was engaged, she was about to get married, this is also something that can be interpreted as starting a new life. But Donna was just hunting with her sister. There was nothing about starting in life, starting from clean slate. So those are the things that makes me suspicious about those two characters, especially about Donna. Anyway, we're moving forward. This is just a moment for me to blow out some steam. Okay, you live in Fromville, there are monsters here, and one of the girls who you can see that mostly normal, but some screws are a little bit loose there. With Sarah, I don't think you can argue about that. There isn't a normal person in this world who will think that killing a kid is something that's worth doing in order to escape a place, and especially there isn't a person out there who's gonna ask someone if they're thinking this is something good to do. But Kristi here, she's like, yeah, of course you can do something bad in order to do something good, because she's thinking this is just a conversation between girls. She didn't have a girls' night probably for a long time, she's just enjoying it. She doesn't want to start harassing Sarah and asking her why do you act like that. But when you live in a place like that, like Fromville, you should ask those questions, because people are getting crazy here. Yeah, and if somebody's saying to you, if I do something bad, is it worth it? What bad? What do you want to do? Do you want to kill a whole village to get some M&Ms? Probably not worth it. Especially not killing some kid, some innocent kid, and another innocent people, like how many she killed already? 4, 3, something like this? Just for a vague promise, but some voices you hear in your head that you're gonna escape this place. Yeah, it's not worth it. And now a disclaimer, when I was in school, I hated physics. It was so boring to me. Maybe because the teacher never told us to watch From, or to watch a Constellation, or any other TV show that basically discovers this topic of quantum physics and quantum mechanics. But now, if it helps me to understand more From, I actually enjoy reading about quantum physics and quantum mechanics. But once again, as I told you, disclaimer, I'm not somebody who understands a lot about it, not an expert. Maybe some of you who watches this video right now can add something, or maybe fix what I'm saying here if I'm saying something wrong. But Hardy-Klei, and especially Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen, this is all basically paradoxes, and those paradoxes are all coming from quantum mechanics. Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen basically saying that when there are two elements that are connected to each other, no matter what is the distance between them, one of them can be on Earth and one of them can be on the moon, whether it's an electron, atom, or something like this, if they are intertwined, you can understand that they're affecting each other. And they're affecting each other simultaneously. Okay, so if something is falling on the ground here in Earth, on Mars or on Sun or on Moon, it's gonna be coming up. So there is a connection between, but it's a paradox because this connection kind of goes against the whole speed of light theory and the relevance theory also by Einstein. So also Klein and also Hardy, they were adding more to this theory. If you studied physics better than I did, or you at least watched Big Bang Theory, you know about Schrodinger's cat also. Basically, quantum physics and quantum mechanics, this is the closest thing we have to magic right now, because it works against our logic and against how we actually see the world. It works not in 3 dimensions, it works against the rules that we are experiencing in usual physics. So it is logical that someone like Jade tries to explain this place with science. Okay, he's trying to understand if there are paradoxes in our lives in physics that we already know that are working a little bit weird, like, you know, like Schrodinger's cat, and we have elements that we know that we can measure them, only we need to like focus on them in order to measure them, but when we measure them they are changing, so you never know what they are in real life. So there's a lot of interesting things in quantum physics and quantum mechanics, something that maybe will allow us to create teleports or other amazing things that we thought are not possible. But the reason I'm telling you all this, for you maybe to discover more by yourself, because there is a possibility for some kind of a scientific explanation of this place. I know most of us, me included, thinking about more mystical and magical explanation here, which I think way more logical, but it can also be interesting that if eventually this place is gonna be explained by science and it's gonna be sci-fi show instead of mystical or magical or fantasy show. Now this is something that can be a hint. Jade is talking about he's the one who designs the maze, he just sold the company for an obscene amount of money that is based on quantum computer algorithm. Once again, we're talking about something quantum here. I asked ChatGPT if this is something that can be created in order to do some kind of simulations or some kind of virtual reality. Mostly it's used in some chemistry simulation in order for, you know, scientists to understand how different elements will react on each other. But once again, if the creators, if the writers spend time in order to research this topic, it doesn't look they just googled quantum physics, what can we talk about? Okay, Einstein, Rosen, Podolsky. Okay, Klein, Hardy. Let's just throw it out there. It looks like they know what they're writing about, and this is basically can be, of course, a red herring, but it does feel like it has some kind of a weight. You know, Jade is one of the main characters, and he's probably gonna have a big role in discovering the answers, so just something for you to think about. Anyway, we're moving forward. The healing factor we talked about, this place is actually helping you, not just trying to hurt you, and this is what Ethan says, and we see that he's basically like, after just a couple of episodes, he already can walk after his leg was pierced. This is something to remember. This is not only bad. This place is not only bad, but maybe this is just also a technique to create more hope. We remember this place feeds on hope. We also get to know here about Brundles. This is something maybe there was a leftover of a big river. I don't know what it is. But if you have a lighthouse in a place, there's usually water. And this is the only body of water we can see here in this place. So maybe it's just a leftover. Maybe it was way bigger. This is just something once again to think about. And Fatima is telling her story about when she was in Iran and her father was killed and they escaped Iran when she was 11. Now, this story is also connects a lot of our characters to death. You know, Boyd lost his father to Parkinson. We know that Matthews lost their child. We know that Father Katri lost this kid. This kid was killed and he killed, or at least injured badly, the father that killed the kid. I'm using quotation marks on father because this is not a father. Anyone who can lay a finger on his child, this is beyond, like, I don't want to even call it a monster because it's an assault to monsters. Monsters are better. And I also heard some theory that maybe it was Boyd who actually was in Iran and killed her father. You know, Fatima is kind of young, she's 20 something, okay, so This was already definitely after the Islamic Revolution in Iran. There were never boots on the ground here. It was not an American soldier. This is basically something that happens in Iran. Still, there's a lot of like tension between the general population and the government there. And it's also not lost. Yeah, so let's move forward from this theory. Now we can also see here like a symbol of the sun. I find it interesting that I actually chose this angle to show us that it also looks like a little bit like a sign or maybe some kind of paganic symbol. Just once again something for you to notice. And we also discover about Sarah that she's been here just a couple of months. So probably she started to hearing those voices almost right away. Okay, and we can see some of the doodles that Jim is making here. Once again, kind of an amateur, you know, like forgive me for being a little bit snob here, but he's like asking questions like, can we make them, how many? This is basically the questions that we asked only after our second run on From. For me it's like already fourth or fifth, so yeah, an amateur. And if you remember when we analyzed episode 2, we talked about Hope is the Thing with Feather. This is basically a poem by Emily Dickinson, and we can see here more and more and more because Boyd here is talking to his late wife, dead wife. He's telling her the clock is ticking, and the theme of this poem was that hope is getting stronger in the storm, and we can see that the conditions for Boyd are getting worse. Okay, if you are getting alive here in this place, if you're actually making it work, your hope is gonna get weaker. Okay, you're just gonna start living the routine here and start accepting reality. But when the clock is getting faster and the clock starts ticking and you understand you don't have that much time in order to take your son and save him from this place, you need to start moving forward and your hope gets stronger. I think this is a pattern we're seeing more and more and more, and this is why we see the conditions for our heroes are getting worse and worse and worse. So for them not to break but be close to this breaking point when the only thing that keeps you alive is you hoping you can save yourself. And Boyd asks for a sign. This is not something he believes in, but he asked for a sign, and we move here forward. This is some kind of a Stonehenge that they have this in this place. I read a little bit about cultures that used to create those kind of circles. A lot of them, most of them were alive during the Stone Age, which is like prehistory. So yeah, this place can be even older than we think it is. We thought it may be something that was discovered by the Vikings, or you know, like northern mythology, because we have these symbols on talismans. But if it was those stones, it's way older than Vikings. Anyway, we can see it here. Once again, we get to meet Alma, and we have this moment here which is basically screams to me Abraham and Isaac. If you remember, this is an Old Testament story. Abraham took his son to the mountain and he was told by God to sacrifice his son, and he was about to do so when God was like, oh, what, are you crazy? Are you insane? You're about to kill your kid? Just kill this sheep, so I'm gonna get some sacrifice. I need it eventually, but don't kill your kid. This is insane. And in episode 4, when we discussed this moment when Victor gave this stick to Ethan, I told you this is probably was just something that was made for this moment. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the only one who's having some biblical vibes here, but this is not something I can ignore. This moment is a bit weird for me because we're gonna see some sort of a redemption for Sarah's arc. She's gonna get better, especially in season 2. She's gonna be, I'm gonna actually feel bad for her at some moments. But here, she's clinically insane. She's about to kill a kid and she's starting to scream like, you don't understand. You don't understand. Are you insane? You're about to kill a kid who's like 10 years old, and eventually you're killing your own brother. And while you're doing it, you're still screaming like an insane lunatic person. Oh, you don't understand, you don't understand. So the final thing that I want to talk about is the last scene when Boyd is talking to Kristi. Thank you, Boyd, for actually saying those words. Some people need to hear them. Like if there's some crazy lunatic person played some Call of Duty and then started to killing other people, this is because this person was insane, not because the game made him do it. It's not the game that made you do it, it's not the movie that made you do it, it's you who made you do it. And he's saying to Kristi, this is not your fault. Sarah would probably try to do it without you conforming to her crazy theories. without you not understand it, you're actually speaking to a crazy person during your girl night. So yeah, I just appreciate Boyd saying those words, and then the music box turns on and we can hear If I Had a Boat. Now, I hate this song. I'm gonna explain to you why in a second, but once again we can see that music box are actually helping our characters to reach a decision or to heal something. In the previous episode it was a song that reminded Jim and Tabitha who they are and about their relationship. It was, you know, a good coincidence that helped them to remember who they are and who they are in their relationship, and here we actually hear the song that has a lot of connection for Boyd and his wife, and he asked her for a sign and he got like the biggest sign he could get. This tells me that somebody is controlling the music boxes, and those songs are turning on not just willy-nilly and completely randomly. There is a thought behind them. So I'll be damned, this is what Boyd says and this is what I'm saying here, because when it happens twice, this is already a hint for a pattern. So the reason I hate this song because it's the song from 1987. Okay, all of the other songs by other creators are from the 70s or the 60s, and all of the signs that we have in this place, from the technology, from whatever you want to talk about, the signs about the, you know, the vacation in Hawaii, everything screams the end of 70s, the beginning of the 80s. 1987 feels a little bit late for that theory, or maybe I'm just already mixing things, you know, with the way the technology in the last decades are actually improving, kinda made me forget what kind of technology we had in 87, the year I was born. And of course we cannot ignore the dates in the lighthouse. One of them was 1971, I think. We don't have something from the 1980, especially not 1987. But once again, if we're talking about the actor who's playing Victor, he's 55. If we are rewinding from 2020 to 1987, this is almost like 40 years. So that's how logical that he was like 12, 13 in those scenes that we've seen in the cellar. It kind of works, but still not completely. It doesn't, you know, like fits exactly. This is what I am sharing it with you. Maybe you have some kind of different perspective on it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can support it the way you like, okay? You can just write a comment, like, subscribe, hit a bell. Now, when I talk about the Patreon sponsorship or here in YouTube, I always say one thing, and this is what makes me feel comfortable talking about this thing even. Never like hurt yourself financially. You help yourself, you help your family, you help your friends, you help your charity. You do everything, and then if you have like a couple of bucks left and you think about, okay, I enjoy this guy's videos, only then consider supporting me. I don't want you to actually think about, okay, why I'm supporting this guy for $5, for $2, for $10. So this is the money that I could use better for my family. Do it. Always do it. Always put yourself and everything else, me on the last place there, okay? Please do it only like that for me to be comfortable with even having a sponsorship here on this channel. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.